There are lots of claims about voting. Both Republicans and Democrats have made fraud claims after losing, claiming the election was stolen. Are elections at risk? Who can we believe? Is voter fraud even a real issue we should be concerned with? Voter fraud, myth versus reality. Welcome to Into the Desert, exploring the wilderness of ideas. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And we need your support. The algorithms are pushing divisive content while hiding serious discussion. Please become a fellow adventurer on Patreon and support this channel's mission of encouraging discussion, not division. The link is in the description. Recent elections have been plagued with charges of fraud. Trump and many Republicans claimed fraud following his loss to Biden in 2020. Hillary and many Democrats blamed Russian interference for her loss to Trump in 2016. And some claimed Trump stole the 2024 election. Nor are claims of stolen elections limited to the presidency. It seems clear that there is an issue here, as charges of stolen elections have come from both sides when they lose. It's one thing to say the election was okay when you win. The real test of a system is when you can say it was okay even when you lose. This is not a new problem. In American history, while overall voting has been okay, there have been many problems, such as those caused by political machines like Tammany Hall in New York City, the Pendergast machine in Missouri, and the Daley machine in Chicago. For example, under the Daley machine in Chicago, in the 1960 presidential election, one precinct with 4,895 registered voters had 6,138 votes cast. There has also been the widespread disenfranchisement of blacks in the South, resulting from the Jim Crow laws passed following the collapse of Reconstruction and the reemergence of Democrats in the South following the Compromise of 1877. This, in theory, should be an easy fix. Voting is one of the most basic aspects of democracy. Yet, given the stakes, it is not. One possible ray of hope was the Carter-Baker Commission, following the contentious 2000 election, which also included its fair share of fraud allegations. A bipartisan commission headed by Jimmy Carter and Howard Baker was formed to reform election laws. The commission issued 87 bipartisan recommendations to make registration and voting easier and more secure. Reform is possible. Following the 2000 election, Florida, which had been the center of controversy, reformed its system. Their new systems worked so well that while the other states struggled in 2020, as one news report from Florida put it, Floridians can put their head on their pillow and know that Florida got it right this time. Why can't every state model itself on Florida's system? A key problem is that while both sides have claimed problems when they lost, Democrats also claim there is no problem with fraud. For example, one key reform of the Carter-Baker Commission was improving voter registration and voter ID to ensure that only those legally permitted to vote are voting. Yet, Democratic politicians now reject these recommendations, claiming they're not needed. Still, fraud had not been confined to the distant past. In the 1996 California congressional election, Robert Dornan, the incumbent, lost to Loretta Sanchez by 984 votes. A review by the Secretary of State showed that 2,474 non-citizens had voted in that election. Still, the election was allowed to stand. You can say they voted, but not for whom they voted, and thus could not say it changed the outcome. Since then, California had passed a series of laws that made fraud both easier to commit and harder to prove. In California, it is illegal to ask a voter for ID. So if you can't check at the time they vote, how do you prove someone was not who they claimed to be? How do we know fraud is rare? Are we just supposed to trust that everyone followed the rules? Similar arguments apply to mail-in voting. In one test of mail-in ballots, 100 simulated ballots were mailed to a P.O. box. After a week, 3 were missing. However, they did receive other misdelivered mail, such as a birthday card. This was a 3% error rate, which is greater than the winning margin in some elections. Then, there are the rejection rates. In the spring 2020 election in California, which is used to handling mail-in ballots, 102,000 ballots were rejected for various issues. These issues would not occur with in-person voting, using voter ID. If these 102,000 ballots were fraudulent, then it was good they were rejected. But that would argue against the idea that fraud, or at least attempts at fraud, are rare. On the other hand, if they were not the result of fraud, but from voter errors, their votes were not counted because they voted by mail. In short, voting by mail does not mean your vote was counted. When elections are won by wide margins, the issues of fraud and mail-in ballots are negligible. When the country is split and elections are won by narrow margins, they can undermine the system. The polls are pretty clear. Very strong majorities support measures like voter ID. Elections cannot be governed by trust, but by rules that make fraud difficult to commit and easy to catch. So what do you think? Do you think fraud is a real issue? Should voters have to show ID? Tell us why in the comments. We love reading your comments and we reply to many of them. If you've made it this far in the video, please consider watching one of our other videos and supporting our channel on Patreon. Thank you for watching Into the Desert, exploring the wilderness of ideas. And to our fellow adventurers, a special thank you for helping to support this channel out on Patreon.